This is the Ancestry Chronicler, Shawn J. Gandy, and I have a special guest with me today, fellow genealogist, family historian, and now a new author, Jennifer Rose Daivs. And I'm glad that you're finally able to join. We've been talking about this and just your book coming out. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So it's a privilege and it's an honor for me to be able to sit and talk with you and discuss your book. It's been a journey, and we're gonna let you talk about that. But it's been a journey, and the book is finally here. So I have to be excited. And it was good to hear, that you spent all morning long signing autographed copies of your book for customers, and so congratulations on that as well. And I hope that never stops for you. And it's a wonderful story. So where are you writing from? Where do you live?
Well, I currently reside in Houston, Texas. But I grew up in, I claim all places. So I grew up in California, Arkansas, and then Texas. So, but now I'm residing here in Houston.
Houston, all right. I have an affinity for Texas, if you will, because I was born in Austin. My father was in the Air Force, so I was born in Austin. So, and I actually went to Houston before in 2018. Houston is beautiful.
Yes, I love it.
Houston is beautiful. I fell in love with it.
Yes.
So let's jump right in with this. You wrote a book. What is the title of your book, and what is your book all about?
Okay, the title of my book is called Finding Myself. And it's funny you asked. The whole time I was writing my book, which I started in 2019, I had named it Abandoned. So it's called, I ended up changing it towards the end to Finding Myself. How DNA and genealogy changed my life. And the book is about me as an adoptee going on a journey from, I can truly say, from birth up to finding my birth parents. So it's I guess you could say, the timeline of me starting or being adopted, and then being old enough to learn and understand what adoption means, and then moving on to finding information about my adoption, and then of course being an adult and deciding that I do want to search for my birth parents.
Wow. So what led you to write your story? Like what convinced you that you needed to share your story with the world?
To be honest, I never thought to write a book. It was never on my list to do. I can say truthfully, I was not a writer. I never thought of this. And as I took this journey and the path it took me on and the people I met, and truly the family and friends and even strangers that I crossed paths with, they all suggested that I write a book. And so, after thinking about it, I was thinking, maybe I can not just share my journey with family and friends, but share it with someone out there that may be searching on their own. And that's what gave me the desire to write a book, the passion to write a book towards the end of my journey.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And, I don't think I was one of the ones who said that this should be a book, but when you told me that you wanted to write a book, I was like, oh, yes, this is a book. This is a book.
Yes.
So where were you born?
I was born in Olongapo, Philippines, and it's a city right outside of Subic Bay Naval Base. That naval base in the Philippines is shut down now, but it is a small town outside of the naval base there.
Okay. And so are you of mixed heritage? Well, I know you are. So you're of mixed heritage.
I am of mixed heritage, yes. My father is African American and my mother is Filipino.
Okay. So at what age did you know that things were different for you? That you were of mixed heritage?
Well, I could truthfully say that I knew that I was different as far as not being biologically related to my family, because my adopted mother often talked about me being adopted. And being in the Philippines and what she went through as far as her experience with adopting me. So I knew I guess you could say I didn't quite understand what it meant at a young age. And I didn't, according to her, ask questions. I know that she and I talked about it lately, and she told me that, and I remember that I always was kind of maybe not ashamed. I was afraid to ask questions or bring up the topic and thinking that I might hurt her feelings. So I never, not even once that I can think of as a child, asked her questions about being adopted or anything. I just listened to what she said, and she tried to, keep me, with the information as far as, I could one day look and, that I did have a birth mother. So I guess you could say around the age of, from my memory, because my memory is not the best, but from my memory, I want to say maybe preteen, 12, 13 is when I really got kind of an understanding that I was adopted and that I was different. And because I didn't know anybody that was really adopted around me, my friends, nobody that I knew of. I had a friend. She wasn't necessarily adopted, but her mother was. But of course, we were children. We didn't talk about it, so I just didn't really think much about it until I got older and ended up getting naturalized.
Wow, that's interesting. So in the book, you go into depth about your experience in the Philippines, growing up and living in an orphanage. And just all the elements that went into that and the things you talk about, it's so revealing, it's so personal, it's so for me, it ran the emotional gamut. I mean, the entire book for me just ran the emotional gamut. There were times I cried, there was times I laughed, there were times I smiled, there were times I was upset, there was times I felt exhausted for you and your journey. So the book just gave me that. But just reflecting on, for me, that part of your life, and I guess the earlier years of your life, did your childhood friends, did they have something to say about you being of mixed heritage?
Thinking back, no, I grew up in California, so a lot of diversity there. So I was around a lot of other children that were also of mixed heritage. So it's kind of like I just fit in. So no one. I identified as African American, and I think most people maybe not even assume that I was of mixed heritage. They maybe just thought I was just Black only. So it wasn't a topic that came up. It wasn't anything that really stood out for me until maybe I got a little older, maybe towards high school, and I started getting more about, or wanting to learn more about my identity. Okay. And so I started having my own questions about it.
Wow. So the orphanage that you were in, was that an orphanage for all children, or mixed heritage children, or Filipino only children, or?
To my understanding, it was an orphanage for all children. It was a Catholic-based orphanage ran by nuns, and they were American, ran by an American, or the owner was an American. I think they had all children there, but my adopted mother did tell me that when she went to the orphanage, I was only one of 4 mixed, or what appeared to be African American, half African American and half Filipino children there. So I don't know if maybe it was just that at that timing, and maybe at other times there were more, but I guess she was just saying that, it wasn't too many African American children of mixed heritage there.
Okay, beautiful. Mm-hmm. So in your book, Jennifer, the book is mainly about your journey. And I think you bookended very well with, growing up in the Philippines, your Filipino family, the orphanage, what that was like, like your coming of age. And then, the whole thing of discovery, self-discovery that led you on your journey. And then at the end, don't want to give anything away, but then, it gets bookended beautifully, emotionally. I cried, and I just read the rough draft, and like it left me in tears. But what was the journey like for you, trying to find your biological parents. Talk about the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, and was it an emotional roller coaster for you?
I mean, emotional roller coaster is totally an understatement. I think it was so hard going through that. And, you know, I started this, I want to say, I always say I officially started back when I was starting college to find my birth mother first. And that journey was not, I wouldn't say it was as hard because I found her very quickly. It wasn't a long drawn out search that I had to do. I found her really fast. But I think the difference is looking for my birth father. Now, with my birth mother, I had a name to go by, but with my birth father, I didn't have any identifying information, not a place where he was from or a name. So I had to kind of start from scratch. And when I tell you that right there was hard within itself, just searching like for a needle in a haystack. You don't even know where to go. And so the ups and downs that came with it, I mean, in the end, it was all worth it. But yes, I had a hard time at first until I got help. At first, I had started by myself trying to do it on my own. And then I eventually, you know, sought out help, and I got help from you, definitely were one of them. I had reached out to strangers when I did my DNA, and people were so willing. I was just so happy to see how people were so willing to help people search that they didn't even know, like help a stranger search. So I hit a lot of brick walls. I went down paths that were wrong, had great leads, I thought, and then ended up being the wrong leads, you know, spending hours and hours. It was like something in me that said I couldn't put this search down. I needed to keep going. I felt that any time that I wasted not searching was time I got away from knowing my biological family or my birth family. So I wouldn't let myself just put it down. And I know at times my head hurt, my eyes hurt staring at the computer. I felt like I was carrying names and records and, just information about strangers all in my head at one time. And it was just giving me this big old headache, like this big old weight on my shoulders. But of course, I had great people that were helping me, including you. I had met some search angels that had helped me. I had connected with some of my DNA cousins. And even I had a genealogist that was helping me. So with everyone's help and encouragement, you know, that helped keep me going. And as we got closer and closer, you know, I knew I just couldn't, you know, give up. Not just for me, it was for everybody that was helping me and my family.
Wow. So would you say that it was also a spiritual journey?
I definitely say it was a spiritual journey. Yes. I feel like I had went to God so many times, like, please, you know, give me that one clue. I prayed a lot. I knew that with me searching and all the help that I got and all these different tools I was using, of course, maybe it would give me a lead and maybe I would find him, but I knew ultimately it was up to God, and he was the one that was guiding me to him, and that I had to keep my faith and, you know, just believe that he, you know, he knows what's right. And if he wanted this to be, he would have it be. And so I always talk about in my book, God's perfect timing. And that's exactly what it was. It was his perfect timing. Not when I was looking for him, when I did my DNA test, my father, or not when I reached out to different, you know, DNA matches or just strangers for information. He knew that at the right time, he would guide me to my family. And that's what happened.
Absolutely, cousin. And, you know, I just called you cousin. And so full disclosure, I met you amidst your journey. You were going through your DNA matches, trying to find those different avenues that may lead to your father. And you reached out to me because I was a DNA match. My father was a DNA match to you. So that kind of gave us some kind of clue, you know, because my mother wasn't, my dad was. So he was like, okay,
yes.
So my dad's side, you know, but now it's like which branch of my dad's family, which branch of his maternal lines, which branch of his paternal, you know, so all of that. But that's how we met. And, you know, and so we just formed a bond. You know, my wife and I, having helped people prior to meeting you, we felt not just because we were now family and we shared the same blood, even though we didn't know how yet, but we felt this connection to you. And I remember, I made a promise. I don't know if I made it to you verbally, but I had made a promise that I would always be accessible to you. And I remember that there were times that we would call each other in the wee hours of the morning.
Yes.
I think I found something, or help me. Then it was just times when you needed a shoulder to cry on.
I needed it, and you were always there for me, always.
And I appreciate your stick-to-itiveness, because a lot of people are just like, I give up, but you stuck to it, and you didn't give up. And I don't think there's a guarantee in sticking to it that there's a payoff in terms of that payoff that we think we're going to get.
Right.
There's always a payoff. There's always something that to be gleaned from bringing it to some kind of closure. And it may not be what we want, but your stick-to-itiveness is just genuine. It's admirable. Can you talk a little bit about the different genealogical platforms that you use, just to help you research, just for the audience of people who may be adopted, looking for their biological parents, or and just to let them know like what kind of platforms are out there.
Okay. Well, I started out with taking my test with Ancestry DNA. I was told that was one of the biggest DNA databases. So I started out that way, but I eventually learned there were some more, other databases that were just as good. So I ended up taking a DNA test with 23andMe as well. And I uploaded my results to Family Tree DNA. And there's also another one called, I always say, I'm probably saying it wrong, but GEDmatch. Is that how you pronounce it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I uploaded there, which is a great database to use to store your DNA. And that's what initially connected me with people. I was so surprised to go from not knowing any biological people related to me to now knowing a relative that's the same as me, that has my same blood. Now, I may not know my father, but I knew a relative of mine. So I eventually had connected with people who gave me some great tools to utilize. For example, some of the other ones were like military.com and newspapers.com. I enjoyed using newspapers.com due to the fact that you could, research old obituaries in there. So you could find, as I was doing my family tree on Ancestry, which ultimately helped lead me to my father, I was able to put the right names in the family tree, knowing that, in obituaries, they always talk about the children and the father, who's the father and who's the mother and where they're from and their birthday. So I got really good information from that. And it wasn't military.com. It was called Fold 3, but it was a military database. Mm-hmm. Now, at the time, I couldn't use it much because, again, I didn't have a name, but I kept it in my toolbox of databases to use because I knew one day I would have a name and I need to, possibly use that. Other things I used was I enjoyed a website called truepeoplesearch.com. Okay. That one I liked because when you search that one, you just put a name in there. They can give you someone's old. Now there's a lot of information on the internet, and that's sad. But of course, this website would give you people's addresses that they've had like forever, old addresses, even a current address if they had it in there. It gave them household members that lived with them, relatives, people. I don't know how they come up with the names or how they connect the household names to this person, but I assume, and don't quote me on this, but maybe if that person lived with someone before and maybe got mail at that house, they're all connected in that way. So I don't know. I haven't researched on how they, get the name, but I really enjoyed that website. And ultimately, I love Google. Google is just a great website for me. I would just take a name, take a record, take anything and just put it in a Google. And I was always able to find my path or which way I wanted to go regarding that. I also had some of my search angels and some strangers that had access to other resources, things like I think it's called Been Verified. Is that what it's called? Where you can get kind of like a background of someone. And so some of the things that I didn't have, other people had, and they helped me use those. So I had a wealth of databases and websites and things that I had in my little toolbox that I used.
Okay. And you spoke of search angels too, like just for the audience.
Yes. And I felt to say one of the biggest things that helped me was Facebook. Now, Facebook was probably, besides Google, my first go-to, because you know how people are, most everybody has a Facebook. And if they don't have a Facebook, somebody in their immediate family has a Facebook. So you're able to go to someone's Facebook. Most people post pictures of families, celebrations, funerals, birth dates. You can get someone's birth date from a Facebook, just from someone, posting happy birthday on you. And I had joined a few groups. I was introduced to some groups on there. One being called, DNA Detectives was one. And the other one was Social DNA, I believe is what it is, or DNA Social. And these websites were really great because these have people in there that are kind of like on your same journey. They're either looking for someone or, they're trying to get information on how they go about searching for someone. So they've asked all kinds of questions in there, and I could literally go in there and type a question in the search and it's already been asked. I could just read up on it, maybe even reach out to someone that posted on it. And in the process of me posting my own story to those websites or to those Facebook groups, I met 3 great search angels that literally helped me all the way till the end. Each had their own way of searching, each did things differently, their own tools they used, but all of them worked together in the end to help me reach that goal of finding my father. So it was really good. And the search angels, they're usually people that they've gone through the same experience. They've either found somebody or was looking for someone and received the help from another search angel. So they're always willing to volunteer and help, to kind of like give back to what someone had did for them. So
sure. So a big shout out to search angels. I've used those in my research, so just a big shout out to them.
Yes.
So you met your mother, or you searched for your mother, and you met your mother. What was that like?
Well, that one was a lot different than the experience I had with meeting my father, but meeting my mother, I was younger. I want to say I was about 26 years old at the time, or at least in my 20s. I wasn't as experienced and knowledgeable or wise as I am now about life and everything. So, I just went with it. I had found her easily. I had put a message on a message board on Ancestry, and a relative of hers reached out to me. And that's initially how I found her. And I want to say it took less than a week.
Wow.
And so, yes. And so I had names, of course, from my birth records. So that was what made it somewhat easy. And I was invited to come down on a holiday to meet the family in Virginia and to meet my mother.
Your book it's a page turner. I forgot how many pages it is, but I couldn't put it down. I read it. I went to bed the wee hours of that morning. I just couldn't put it down. And like I said before, in the span of me reading it from cover to cover, my emotions ran the gamut. Roller coaster ride, laughed, cried, just everything. But when you tell the story about when you first went to meet your mother, and that whole journey across the country, and just it's just so much in this book that's just so enlightening, inspiring, revealing. And I think what I really love the most about your book is that at the end of the day, it touches the human soul. It connects you as a human to other humans. It just gives you the sense of being a human. There's no farce or fanciness about it. It's just bedrock there, solid. How was it meeting your father or searching for your father?
Well, searching for my father took a while, and like I said before, I hit a lot of brick roads, and so I just assumed that it would be just as easy to find my mother, but I knew that I didn't have any information, but I felt like should be quick, and it kind of lasted a long time. And so that end result of finally getting that prize of meeting my father and my birth family, man, it was all worth it. All the hard times I had and all the times I wanted to give up, it was worth it. So I ended up going to his city. He's from Cincinnati, and meeting him. And not only do I have him, I have his mother. She was at the time 89 years old when I met her. But I was just so happy to meet them, and they were so welcoming, and we have had a great bond just from the beginning. They accepted me, and they welcomed me with open arms, and I'm still in the process of meeting more of that side of the family. So the whole experience with them has been great. I really, really am happy.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So you didn't just get a father out of it. You got a grandma too.
Grandma and a sister.
Yeah, exactly. And a sister, which is beautiful. Have you, I know you put it in a book, so it's readily available to your children. But have you talked to your children about the whole journey, your life history? Have you talked to your husband about it, and what's that like?
Yeah, I've talked to them, and they've always had questions and was curious, and that's kind of what hurt me the most, not being able to answer questions about, where we're from or who we are. And so I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. I needed to do. And even if I wanted to give up, I couldn't, because I needed to do it for them and the generations after me. My children and my husband have always been supportive. Both times I have found my family, they were so excited to meet them. Now, my children have yet to meet my mother. They haven't met my mother or my husband, but my father, right away, he wanted to meet them. And so we made that happen. And, they are all excited to have newfound family.
Okay. That's what's up. That's beautiful. So, what's the most valuable lesson that you feel you've learned along the way on this journey?
I think the most valuable lesson is to, I guess, don't give up, and, sometimes you're in that situation where maybe you may be the adoptee and you're wanting to seek out family, and maybe people are telling you, no, you don't need to find your birth mother, but ultimately it's your truth. You do it for you. You're not doing it for no one else. And when you make that decision to do it, don't ever give up, because, God has a plan for you. And if it is meeting them or if it's not, it's the journey that matters, I believe. And, just what you go through, just from searching to finding them, or even if you don't make that connection, you still grow within yourself and you learn more about yourself. And that's why I call my book Finding Myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
I felt like that. I truly did.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess with that then, because that seems like you're also like not just a lesson that you learned, but an advice that you would give to someone else. What would be, and it may be just that, but if there's anything other than that, what would be the advice that you would give to someone who is searching for their biological parent or parents, and like, trying to find them? Like, what's that advice that you would give them?
I would just say, make sure it's something that you want to do and that you're doing it for your own reasons. That you have, maybe thought about, what could happen if maybe the parent doesn't want to make a connection, and, or what would happen if they do want to make a connection. Think about all those things before you decide to do it. Are you doing it for the right reasons? Do you want to build a relationship with this family that you find, or this parent? Or you just want to know more like health information? So I guess maybe think about, what I guess you could say your end result is. What do you want to do? What do you want, this to be like?
What do you do when you are searching for your biological parent, child, whatever, and you're adopted, and you find them and they don't want to be found? I mean, their reaction to you is, I don't want to be, I wish you never found me, because I didn't want to be found.
I think that's what people should know, that you should at least prepare yourself that it either could go one way or another. You know, they could want to be in your life, they could want to know who you are and get to know you, or they may not want to have anything to do with you. And that's just something you have to accept. You know, ultimately it's their decision if they want to be in your life.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good information. You know, when I take on clients and I help them, you know, find their adopted parents. Some I've helped, and you know, I let them know, you know, there's no guarantee. You know, like it may be a dead end. Others I've been successful. Some reunions have been wonderful. Some reunions have been not so wonderful. But there's a famous geneticist, genealogist. I can't remember her name right now, but she made a statement that I just thought was just really great, and I share this every time I take on a client who's looking for their adopted biological parents. I mean, just who's searching for their family, you know, whether you're adopted or just estranged or whatever, you know, the situation is that everybody has, and I'm paraphrasing her quote, but she said, everybody has a right to know who their family is, but you don't have a right to have a relationship.
I like that.
And yeah, and so like to repackage that, you know, it's like everyone should be able to know who their biological parents are, who their biological children are, who their real family is. But there's so many mitigating factors. There's so many moving parts and components. You know, just human. I mean, just being human on this planet, like we all can. You know, we all know the dynamics of family. Sometimes you just don't have the right to have a relationship for whatever reason. And I think like having those expectations going into the search, just knowing that, you know, it just kind of, you know, helps out as we bring this to a close. And I thank you so much. You've been so just open and just, you know, it's just a blessing to be able to talk with you and to, you know, to even be able to share with my audience your book and your journey. And I want to say that our common ancestor, like, so your father is my cousin. And he's a branch of the family that I just didn't know, because you know how your mind is, like you only go back as far as like your grandparents or your great. I was blessed to know 8 of my great grandparents. I only go as far back as my great grandparent, not even considering the fact that my great grandparents had siblings. And so like their descendants are my family. You know, you're just so myopic sometimes, you know, when you look at family. But yeah. So our common ancestor, if I'm not mistaken, is my second or third great grandmother on my father's maternal line. I can't remember her name right now. Hate the fact that I can't remember her name, because I love to speak of my ancestors' name just to honor, you know, all of what they went through. And just
now I believe she was a sibling of my third. Oh, I don't know if I'm right about the third or the second great grandmother, and her name was Nellie Dean.
Right. So Nellie Dean's mother, and
no, I think it was Nellie Dean's sibling, and was yours.
Right. So then their mother is our common ancestor.
Their mom, yes, you're right.
Yeah. I want to say Julia Dean, but I'm not going to say.
That's what it is. Yes.
Okay. So we had an opportunity, which you know because you were part of this. We had an opportunity to test the mitochondria from her through my father, because my father's mother is a direct female descendant of her, and so my father has her mitochondria. We were able to test through him, and we are, as you know, we traced it back through African ancestry. We are the 100% match to the Limba people, Limba, the Limba people living in Sierra Leone.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was just a beautiful thing to know. So share that with your father,
I will.
Melvin, and look forward to meeting the family. You know, I've yet to meet your father and that side of the family, but I definitely want to meet them, even if it's via Zoom or, you know, we just get a chance to talk on the phone. I just love meeting family, but I wish you the best with your book. When I read it, I knew that the world had to read it. And so I'm glad that you decided to tell your story, to share it with the world. And I encourage everybody, you can, if you can, just let the people know how they can get your book.
Okay, you can visit my website at www.thejenniferrose.com. And that way you can purchase either an autographed signed book, or you can click the other link that will lead you to lulu.com, which is where my book is at on their bookstore. And that's lulu.com.
All right. And all that is going to be in the description as well. So for all of you who visit the site, my YouTube channel, check it out. And thank you once again, cousin Jennifer Rose Daivs, author.
Yes.
New author.
Sounds great. And I just want to thank you too, and let you know how appreciative I am of you from the get-go, like from the beginning. When I sent that email to you, you have been with me all the way to the end. So I really appreciate it. And thank you to your wife as well.
You're welcome, cousin. You're welcome. And hey, it's been a journey, and I was glad to be able to be on that journey with you, you know. And so, hey, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by my Ancestry Chronicles. I'm the Ancestry Chronicler, Shawn J. Gandy. Please, if you've enjoyed this content, hit the like button, give me that thumbs up. If you enjoyed the content, share it with somebody else. Also, hit that little bell so you'll be notified when we got some other things coming up. I'm taking a trip down to the Gullah Geechee Islands. We're going to do some things down there. We're going to do some research down there. We just got some really great content that we're bringing your way. So please be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much. And hey, have a great day. Peace, 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 everybody.